And it is a special edition of the War Room.
Yes.
And we're having it because of what happened yesterday with the Arizona Supreme Court. On the panel, and then we'll get into this. I'm on the panel, Gatos. We've got Bruce St. James.
Hello.
Stacey Pearson is here, political consultant. Hello, Stacey, good to see you. And then we've got Chuck Coughlin, High Ground. How's it going, man?
Yo, yo, yo.
I know.
It's an exciting day.
Is it an exciting
Yesterday
day?
was a pretty interesting day in the history of the state of Arizona. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening. Lots of avenues.
I would say since before the history of Arizona.
Fair enough. Thank you. The territory of Arizona.
The legal bombshell drew reactions today from the Arizona House to the actual White House. It could motivate more people to vote in November. So why don't we start? I'd like to just get your guys' reaction after what happened yesterday. We're going back to 1864. No abortions except for mom if her life is in danger. And I don't exactly know how all that works. Why don't we start with you, Stacey? Because I think a lot of people are just blown away that Arizona is going all the way back to 1864.
It's insane. I mean, this is absolutely insane. And the political consultant in me is thinking of all the ways we're going to destroy records going into November's election, both in signatures for the initiative that's being collected, for turnout among Democrats and young women in particular. But the mom in me of a 21-year-old girl, gut punch. This is not okay. This ban very specifically says to save the life of a mother. When do you, of the pregnant woman, when does that begin? I mean, is it when she crashes? Is it when she's bleeding out? We're talking about a ban and medical care, medical advice that predates light bulbs.
Yeah.
I mean, this is nuts.
We gave examples yesterday of other states that have this kind of similar law where, okay, well, we know that that baby is not going to make it, and mom, well, she's got a temperature of 104, but we're not sure life is all that much in danger. Oh, okay, sepsis is here. Maybe we do something. That's what I worry about.
It's insanity.
Yeah. Chuck, what did you make of it yesterday?
Well, it felt like a meteor hitting a pond. Right, it's like big, and it felt like
all the water left,
or a lot of lake, and it's a tsunami effect. But I will say, with deep respect to my colleague here, who I agree with everything she said in terms of the emotional impact. I think there's a lot of pages to play out here prior to this being the law of the land, with that 14-day window that the court permitted another opportunity to ask the court to stay the decision in Tucson.
For legal challenges. So the reason there's a 2-week, again, and this law is not scheduled to go in effect for, again, now 13 days, but that was specifically to allow for more legal challenges?
Right. The underlying law was the constitutional law. That original case from 2022, I think, allowed they didn't adjudicate the whole case. They looked at this provision that we're talking about now. The other provisions were like the constitutionality of the 1864 law.
Okay.
And so there's an opportunity for Chris Mays or for other folks to, based on the decision, to go back to the court in Tucson and say, I would like to speak about the Constitution. I'd like to try that.
So hold on. Are you saying that there is a chance that the 1864 law will never see the light of day in Arizona?
Yeah. There's a chance. In the next 14 days, we'll know that.
Stacey is shaking her head.
I don't know a lawyer who brings their second best case forward on an issue this important. They would have come with all they had.
But it wasn't an issue before the court. This issue wasn't an issue before the court. So the last part of that Supreme Court decision said you have an opportunity to argue this other case
and lose again.
Well, but you get to argue it.
You get the chance.
And so you'd have to. So the court would have to not grant the stay. It would say no, not going to hear that. Go away. Screw you.
I know you think that I'm about to spin off the planet any given time, Chuck. But I actually don't. I actually don't blame the state Supreme Court in any of this. I think the Arizona State Supreme Court was forced to decide between one of two. They were being forced to decide on the basis of law.
Now you're getting into extreme conspiracy theories.
No, but
I agree.
They couldn't choose to make abortion legal. That wasn't one of the options they had in front of them.
The case in front of them specifically was X, and there's other components which weren't argued. And so they rule, and truthfully, the law, which was originally passed in 22, did not repeal this section of the law.
They did it improperly, or
intentionally.
I would say the authors of it were very intentional about what they did.
They like the 1864 law.
They wanted to give Ducey some cover, right? They wanted to say, "Hey, we'll give you a little break here. We'll give you." Ducey's asking them to do this. They give them, and they say, "Well, but we're not going to repeal this."
Okay. All right, we're in the war room. It is a special edition after what happened yesterday with the Arizona Supreme Court and the state of Arizona. Obviously, we've turned the clock back to 1864. In the war room, Gatos, we've got Bruce, we've got Stacey Pearson, we've got Chuck Coughlin. So we've got 7 months until November. What I'm worried about is women in Arizona over the next 7 months, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And I think that some women are going to die because of this. Who makes the decision? How long is it going to take to get a certain procedure?
A judge? Yeah.
I mean, is that what we're looking at?
Exactly. That's exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at women who are 14 weeks pregnant, who start to spot and don't know what comes next. And the argument will go to California. What does that mean? I just drove through Blythe on Sunday. There's no drive-through abortion clinic next to the Taco Bell. I mean, this is insanity. A woman should be able to go to her OBGYN's office and say, this is the situation I'm in, and those two people make a decision together.
And the doctor, the doctor's suggestion, the doctor's expertise is what you follow, not, okay, now let's go down to a district court judge and see what they think.
Exactly.
Who makes that decision, though, now?
Well, I mean,
if it's
that's why the initiative's in play. I mean, what we're talking about here, and what my colleague just spoke to here a minute ago was that's why this is going to put an enormous gust of support behind the initiative. Because nobody in that community wants to have their future in the hands of a judge. They want to know what the law says. While what I'm talking about here is a temporary, to your point. Gatos, that that there's this period of time between now and the election,
a temporary fix.
A temporary fix.
Okay.
But everybody in the state knows if they're on one side of this issue or the other, that initiative will be the answer.
At the end of the day. He's Chuck Coughlin with High Ground. We've got Stacey Pearson in here, a political consultant with Lumen Strategies Arizona. And we continue our war room. We want to bring somebody in. Unfortunately, couldn't make it in person. We're going to have her on the phone, but that doesn't mean that we all can't ask some questions in here. State Representative Annalise Ortiz. She joins us next right here on the war room.
Well, tell them why, though. I think.
What do you mean, why?
Well, I think we need to say why we're having her on. Because there was some, as you like to say.
Well, she was in the middle of the kerfuffle.
That's what I'm talking about.
That happened on the floor of the House today, and maybe she was one of the ones singing Evelyn Champagne King's greatest hits. Shame. So we will have a conversation with her and learn more about that firsthand, what happened on the floor. We're outspoken right here on KTAR. Put together a group of people today to talk about the topic that Arizonans, and dare I say a lot of people around the country, are talking about, abortion and this 1864 law. Stacey Pearson, she's a political consultant with Lumen Strategies, kind of representing the D side. Fair. Chuck Coughlin, High Ground Consulting. You're on the R side. You're McCain R, though.
Well,
right?
I've been excommunicated.
Careful. Yeah, Well,
Get the hell out of the room.
The water's fine, Chuck. Come on in. And joining us right now on the phone is Arizona Representative Annalise Ortiz. Representative Ortiz, first off, thank you for joining us. And secondly,
thanks for having me.
How sharp are your elbows? What was going on down on the floor today?
It was like WrestleMania on the floor of the Arizona House.
Just minus The Rock. That's all.
Well, look, here's the thing. When we're talking about abortion policy, we are talking about people's lives that are on the line. And I know for myself and for my other Democratic colleagues, we were not going to go down without a fight. This is not the kind of issue where we motion to recess and then everyone goes about their day. We had to make it crystal clear to the Republicans that this is about the lives of people in Arizona who are pregnant or could become pregnant that are now at risk because of this decision. And the fact that Republicans failed to take action today to repeal the ban.
Okay, so let's go over what exactly happened, Representative Ortiz. So who introduced the bill that would repeal the 1864? That was a Democrat, correct?
It was a Democrat, Representative Stephanie Stahl Hamilton, and that bill never received a hearing.
Okay.
So what happened today was that both Representative Stahl Hamilton and Representative Gress moved to motion to suspend the rules so that we could immediately bring that bill to a floor vote. The chairman chose Mr. Gress's motion to go forward, but then a Republican, David Livingston, made a substitute motion to recess. And at that point is when all of the Republicans voted to recess so that they would not have to have their votes on the record regarding this repeal of the abortion ban.
Can we play a little bit of what that sounded like? We're going to play a little audio here. You can listen along. So, Representative Ortiz, without getting into Robert's Rules of Order, which I would really appreciate avoiding, basically there was a motion to vote, and this vote would have supplanted the 1864 law and changed and made abortion legal under some circumstances in the state of Arizona. And your Republican colleagues were apparently on board with it right up until they weren't.
That's right. It's the flip-flopping and the hypocrisy that we continue to see. I can't tell you why they voted to recess when there were Republicans tweeting all yesterday that they supported repealing the 1864 abortion ban.
Matt Gress was one of them.
It seems to me that Matt Gress was one of them, and it seems to me that it was disingenuous, right? When it came time to put their actions where their words were, they did not have the courage to do it, and that is shameful.
All right, Arizona Representative Annalise Ortiz, a Democrat, is joining us. All hell broke loose today on the Arizona House floor. You just heard the audio of shame, shame, shame. A lot of Democrats were screaming that. Let's go to Chuck Coughlin. You have a question or a comment for?
Well, first, it's great to talk to you, Representative Ortiz. Thank you for your leadership on this and many other issues. So my thought was, I'll ask you this question. Do we think that there is a pause here to allow the Senate President and the Speaker to consider what their options are going forward? And do you believe, because I think I'm correct, that you can continue to make this motion every time you go on the floor. So this could be a massively disruptive, and the only way to defeat this motion is the motion to adjourn or the motion to recess. So you can continue to do this. So how do you see this playing out? And do you see the Speaker and the President, which have to be on the prevailing side of any motion based on the Republican rules, how do you see this playing out?
To me, the time to do this was now. I don't understand what they need to be getting together and conspiring about at this point. We have the language, HB 2677. It is a clean repeal of the territorial abortion ban, and there are Republicans who have said they would vote to repeal it. So I just don't understand why they want to do more delay tactics and talks, especially because they know how unpopular this Supreme Court ruling was. And I think politically they are scrambling to try to save their butts. And, if they're going to put this up on the board, the Democrats are ready to vote for it, to overturn the repeal and to do the right thing so that ultimately patients are not left without access to abortion care, because that is what we really should be focusing on, are the lives that are at risk so long as this Civil War era ban is in effect.
Well, and if I could interject super quick, Representative Ortiz, we're hearing also from Democrats who say, why would you do this? Why would you solve the problem?
That's what I was thinking.
Why are you bailing the Republicans out?
Democrats, like Representative Ortiz, are not playing politics with women's lives. And this was a real motion to repeal, and the Republicans jammed it up. We can win this initiative even at its 15-week ban level. If that was the law of the land, it will still win. The initiative will still win. In the meantime,
in November,
yes. In the meantime, women can access health care.
Representative?
That's exactly right, Stacey. We cannot play politics with people's lives. We are seeing what's happening in states with extreme abortion bans like Texas, where people are being forced to go home even though the fetus is dying inside of them, and doctors are telling them you must be septic or having a blood hemorrhage before we can perform an abortion. So those are the types of situations that could and will happen in Arizona. And that is why we can't play politics with people's lives. But I think it's also important to remember that voters are smart. They see the flip-flopping that is happening from the Republicans. And I do feel confident that voters are very, very clear about who put us here in the first place. And that is the Republican leadership in the House and Senate, our former Republican governor, and the Republicans on the Supreme Court who were appointed by that governor.
Representative Ortiz, thank you so much for articulating it, and we appreciate the theater on the floor. It was just another great day in Arizona, right?
Doing all we can to fight for
Here.
people.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Representative Ortiz joining us on the War Room by phone. We wish he could have been here in person.
It was crazy down there.
Yeah, but I would argue there was some good reason to be crazy. And I guess one of my questions, that I don't know the answer to is, who called those Republicans between the time the vote was called and the time they voted to adjourn? What sort of pressure did they get?
You don't need a call if you're in that position, and because here's the underlying secret here is, in order for a bill to become a law immediately, they need an emergency clause, which means they need 2/3 of the vote of the body.
Right.
Otherwise, the law doesn't become effective until 90 days after they adjourn.
Okay.
Push 90 days when they adjourn. So I appreciate her passion on this issue, but to be truthful about it, you need that Republican support to get 2/3 of the body.
But I think that's part of the point.
If it wants to happen now.
But isn't part of the point, Chuck? There isn't Republican support to do this.
Well, my point was that's why they wanted not to discuss it, so they can have that conversation. Because
they
as
want to
I
have that
said,
conversation in
she
private.
can continue to do this.
Yeah.
They can continue to do this every time they go on the floor.
So question, and this kind of plays into all of it. We're going to ask our War Room and have this discussion. Did yesterday's abortion ruling turn Arizona blue? We're having that conversation. We appreciate you being a part of it. We're outspoken here on KTAR.
Yeah, we've got a special war room today after what happened yesterday in Arizona with the Arizona Supreme Court. And the abortion rule is, I guess, 1864. We've turned the clock back. And no abortions in Arizona except if the mother's life is in danger. Something that we've also talked about is, well, when the mother's life is in danger, how long are we going to wait for a decision? Are we waiting like Texas? There was one mother we talked about from Texas. Well, 104-degree temperature, septic. Well, maybe we should do something. You've got if there's a child that has died inside of you and that mother has carried that child 7-8 months, how long are we waiting here to do a procedure? And is that allowed? So inside the war room, we've got Bruce, we've got Gatos, we've got Stacey Pearson, political consultant with Lumen Strategies, Arizona. We've got Chuck Coughlin, High Ground. We've talked about a lot of stuff today. Let's get to Trump versus Biden in Arizona. With what happened with abortion yesterday, is Biden winning Arizona?
Oh, absolutely.
Really, you think it's the swings?
Oh, it's that fast. It is that.
Wow.
The guy he's running against installed this United States Supreme Court that dismantled Roe, and women know exactly what happened.
And women know who to punish in the election.
Know
here?
who to punish. And
Interesting.
And looking.
You think they'll blame Trump? Here, the reason I say this.
Yeah.
He's already changed his mind on all of this. Trump's going to come out in favor of abortion after birth any second now. Like, he doesn't have a principled stand on this. So if he changes his tune
on this
and becomes pro-abortion, will that hurt him?
I don't think there's a chance. women are not going to give him the chance to change his mind again. I mean, he was at one point for a national abortion ban.
He was.
There is no scenario in which women go, you know what? I don't think he meant it. We went through 4 years of he's just a little crazy. I don't think he really means it. He's not going to do that. And he did.
Let me ask this question. I'll chisel it down to this.
Oh, I like it.
Trump supporters who are women in Arizona are now going to vote for Biden, some of them? Is that what we're talking about? Or are we talking about women who maybe haven't voted in the past now getting involved in saying, yeah, I'm going to vote for that initiative for abortion on the ballot, and while I'm here, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden? What do we?
So I'll go on the last part, latter part of that. The latter part of that is true.
Okay.
This is an initiative that is likely to spike turnout, principally amongst younger voters, which always happens in presidential elections. That's
in general.
In general, presidential elections have higher degrees of turnout. Say we had a 79 to 80% turnout in 20. That fell to like 74 last time.
This is why we bring Chuck in.
It was like 67 last time in the gubernatorial cycle. So this is coming back. And the question is, does this motivate younger people to vote, which expands that voter universe, which is exactly correctly. So this is an encouragement to those younger people, those people who care about this
is it
issue.
possible to see the split voter? I mean, there's going to be some split voters. They're going to vote for this initiative. And the way it's worded, it basically goes back to Roe v. Wade restrictions and at least the way I read it. Fetal viability is the terminology it uses.
But the language in there is all the way up to its mother's health. It's as determined by the doctor and the physician.
Right. Well, but that's a gray area to begin with. It's a gray area we have now.
Right.
But they could also then vote straight Republican. Like, do you think that's I mean, there's going to be people like that.
And one quick interjection,
go
one
ahead.
speed bump between here and there is the same state Supreme Court that just dismantled what was left of access to abortion in Arizona is the same Supreme Court that's going to have to certify the initiative for the ballot. And there will be challenges. They will be well funded. The initiative is going to turn in more signatures than any initiative in Arizona history, and it's still going to have to get through that gauntlet. And the one thing that Supreme Court, our state Supreme Court, likes less than abortion is direct democracy. And so this thing is not a slam dunk to get on the ballot. And every woman that's listening right now should go drive to somewhere to sign a petition while we still are allowed to drive. I mean, this is what we need to do today.
So under Arizona law, the law itself is not ruled upon. What she is saying is correct, that it's the amount of signatures, and they will challenge
the validity
of the signatures. You need, on a constitutional amendment, you need 384,000 valid signatures to turn that in with a validity rate of you need about 500,000. We were told the other day, I think the sponsors of this initiative came out and said we're over
580. They're at 580. They say,
and we've also
still
been
need to
told,
run up the score.
I think they probably got about 200,000 yesterday.
They're going to continue to they're going to continue to collect
the score.
So I think they will clear any validity hurdle easily.
We're inside the war room. Let me pose this question: this initiative gets on the ballot for abortion. It'll pass with what percentage? Anybody have a guess?
Stacey Pearson,
65.
Chuck Coughlin?
Yeah, I would bet 65.
I'll go 63, 62.
Okay. I'm going to take the over. I'll go 68.
Okay.
It's interesting.
You know, I think there will be a funded campaign to oppose it.
Sure.
Based on what you and I were just talking about, Bruce, the exceptions and the way it's written.
The way it's written, the actual verbiage.
And that would...
Because it's only two sentences online.
That actually should be the conversation that the legislature should be having. Because they could reinstate a law today or put something on the ballot of their own, which would be an option to that if they wanted to play politics with this.
Got it.
I don't think they have the flexibility with their aforementioned pro-life constituency to play that.
So we got 60 seconds. So we talked about, Stacey, you think Biden's going to win Arizona? Chuck, do you think he's going to win Arizona now?
I do, not for different reasons, but yes.
Does that mean the same for Lake and Gallego? Goes right down the line. This is bad for Kerry Lake. This is good for Ruben Gallego.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
absolutely.
So we're going to have another blue wave in Arizona, possibly. I know a lot can happen between now and then, but
It's exactly right. I mean, you go back to 2020 when January 2020, when Trump was a lock to win, and then COVID destroyed him.
Right, you're right.
You know,
Yep.
events
Who knows
do
what can come out?
Right,
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
and he
with
was a lock to win.
yeah, you bet the house on it, right?
That
I mean, I was
2019
I was betting against it. Thank you very much. I was betting
a
against it hard.
perpetual optimist.
The
to
economy
my
in
right
2019
here.
was something else.
Speaking of Trump, he says Arizona's abortion ban, quote, goes too far. So how do Republicans spin this and try to get the advantage back? Or can they? Our War Room panelists and us, we're discussing it next, Outspoken, right here on KTAR. And we're back. It's the War Room, a special edition, and something we want to do by bringing in outside voices, bringing in different perspectives from time to time, is certainly when situations warrant. And I think you could make a really strong argument, Gatos, that yesterday's ruling by the Arizona Supreme Court warranted some more discussion.
It warranted a war room. We didn't set this up for Wednesday just to do a war room. We're going to bring it back with different members of a panel. And yeah, this is a huge hour. We have to talk about what this means for women in Arizona, what this means for, the presidential race, the Senate race, and also what does it mean for the Arizona House and the Arizona Senate? Because when abortion is on the ballot, and it will be, things can change drastically. You could have a broken border, which is exactly what we have right now, and people are like, "Yeah, I'm not voting for that Joe Biden guy." But now what we've seen is, we've got a law from 1864 that many don't want, and they're like, "Well, yeah, the Joe Biden guy doesn't sound so bad right now." I mean, that's how quickly it can change.
It comes across as, and rightfully so, it comes across as very backwards, and I think it embarrasses Arizona.
Well, the Speaker of the House just came out. We should talk about that. So in order for anything to move forward in the legislature, you have to have the Speaker.
Speaker of the House
and
has to be on
You have
board.
to have the President.
We're talking, we're
And the
talking about
Speaker-
the Arizona Speaker of the House.
Right.
Yes.
Ben Toma, who's running for Congress
Yep.
to replace Debbie Lesko,
Yep.
came
He
out with a statement.
just tweeted.
And the statement said, completely categorically says, we're not doing this.
Yep.
We're
And
not going to bring up something that will get rid of the 1864 law. Is that what he said?
That's the way I'm reading it, because he was very clear in characterizing the initiative that is going on the ballot
As extreme.
as extremism.
And, yes.
And so why is he going to give them a break when he's going to fight on the ground that he feels comfortable fighting on that ground?
Stacey?
He's going to learn quickly how it feels to be in the minority in the state legislature. Like, this is that kind of issue. We have 5 competitive districts. We have a very, very, very narrow Republican majority, and it's on. I mean, we're seeing this with Matt Gress, who's in a competitive district. He's gone all the way around. He was the fetal personhood guy. Now suddenly he's trying to make the motion to repeal the territorial ban, and women aren't going to fall for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I made this comment earlier, and I'm proud of this comment, so can I make it again?
Go. Half the show's yours.
I can understand you having an evolving position on tax policy. An evolving position on aid to Ukraine.
Yep.
Maybe even an evolving position on immigration. How do you have an evolving position on abortion is murder? Like, when you make that comment, I think you've planted a flag in the ground. By the way, I'm fine if you believe that.
Right.
But when the next day you go, yeah, but I'm kind of okay with it now, am I to assume you're pro-murder?
Right. I said this. I've run lots of candidate campaigns, and the one thing I've always told candidates is, do not get hit by traffic going both directions.
Wow.
You have, on this issue, you have to be very clear as to where you are. And what's happened now is we're seeing all this maneuvering, as Stacey just talked about, and OSHA backup horns on the Trump campaign. That's going on. And my question is this: I have a are there pro-life Republicans, as we've said, who legitimately and heartfelt
believe
this is doctrine, that you cannot back away from this, are going to say now, done, not going to vote for Donald Trump
Because he's
No.
walking away from it.
backed away? Did you skip the race?
No, I think if you're in Trump's bandwagon, you're gonna vote for Donald Trump. You're not gonna vote for Joe Biden.
But
no
if
matter
you're,
what.
but if you're a single
Agreed.
issue, if this is your passion,
Okay,
and this is a religious faith-based issue,
Yeah.
and you see him for what he is on this, your issue is
he
a
wants
hypocrite.
the states to do it.
Well,
That's his thing now. He
he's
wants
ducking.
the states.
He's ducking.
Of course, he's ducking.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
I have a point about the states thing. I understand this whole, and I believe in states' rights, full stop, period. But if we left it up to the states, I think I could name 6 or 7 states that would reenact slavery today.
That's exactly
You know,
it.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yes.
You leave it up to the states.
I'm not
careful
gonna ask
what
you
wish
which
for.
one.
Oh, you know which ones.
100%. The last time we were talking about whether or not people had control over their own bodies, and that was being left up to the state, we were talking about owning the black people.
Yeah.
That's not reasonable.
We fought a civil war over this.
We can't do this is insanity.
States' rights end at human rights at some
Exactly.
level.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the truthful of the American doctrine, right?
Right.
That's the American doctrine: is constitutional equality. All humans and women, women, everyone
Chuck,
gets treated equal.
We're going to talk about those 7 states here in a minute. You and me off the air, okay? We're going to make sure we're in lockstep on them.
Pretty sure I know
Yeah.
where you're going.
Really appreciate the War Room today. Outstanding group. Stacey Pearson, thank you so much for your time.
you,
Chuck
Stacey.
Coughlin, really appreciate it as well.
you,
State
guys.
Representative Annalise Ortiz for joining us earlier. Outstanding. All right.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gatos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.